Welcome to another episode of Charlie Drives. Today you join me in an Audi A1. This is a TFSI 110. So this is actually a 1 litre Audi A1. I think it's called the Sportback. Now, this particular car belongs to my stepdaughter. It's been in the family for about a year or two, and I've always said to myself I should do a video on this car, but I haven't done a video yet, just because I don't know, it didn't seem like a priority, which is silly really, because I've always thought that this car was really good. So here we are, doing a video on it. I actually think that it's probably good timing as well, because there's a lot of really good things about this car, especially given the current economic climate, the cost of fuel. I was actually pleasantly surprised. So in return for doing a YouTube video, well, she gave me a car in return for giving it a good clean. Trust me, she's 26 and she lives in this thing, hence why all of the stuff in the boot. But given the cost of fuel, I was actually pleasantly surprised to see that this thing, it was pretty much dead empty by the time I picked it up. And so I put a full tank of fuel in it, and I was actually able to put a full tank of fuel in at the pump, because there's a £99.99 limit at the pump, and it only cost me £70 to fill up. So I was pretty impressed, and this is actually telling me I've got about 400 miles of range. So £70 for 400 miles of range, given the cost of fuel at the moment, it's pretty good. It's not bad. One of the things about this car that people I think criticize, and you know, some of the reviews I've been reading about it, is that it's an expensive car. It hasn't got a very big engine. It's a 1 litre. I think this one pushes out, I think it actually pushes out 110 horsepower, and that hence the model name. And it's not bad. It's by all means not quick, but it's not like some 1 litre cars that you put your foot down and you get absolutely nothing from it. I think the step down from this model, which is the 95 horsepower version, I think that one probably would feel quite laggy. So I would definitely recommend going for this particular version. Now Sophie paid about £17,000 for this car, obviously on finance and stuff, but she paid £17,000 for this car, and it was a used car at the time. I think it had about 5,000 miles on it. She has now put there's 32,625 miles on this car now, and it still feels very good. It feels probably exactly how it felt when she picked it up. So, and that's kind of what you would expect from a car like this. And going back to the costs of looking after a car like this, running a car like this, yeah, there's probably a fairly high initial outlay for a car of this size. And given it's an A1, it doesn't feel that small. It really doesn't feel that small. I feel like I'm driving something a lot bigger. I'm in a very nice place to be, actually, to be honest. The cockpit, the dashboard, the display that I get here in front of the steering wheel, it's giving me all of the information I need. If not, maybe it's giving me a bit too much, but I've got a nice little view button here, which I can just clear it if I don't want to have a cluttered display too much. So I think it's nice. I think it's really nice, and it's very easy to use. Everything is easy about this car. You just get in, drive it. It doesn't cost you very much. This is a manual version. The shifting is easy, the clutch is light. What more can you ask for, really? Now, if I think about the cars I've got on the driveway, got the Lotuses, which I can only put super unleaded in, so that makes it expensive. They're not particularly economical. Neither is the Raptor, and to be honest with you, neither is really the Defender. Both being diesels, and diesel in the UK at the moment seems to still be very expensive. So having something like this to sort of just drive around on a daily basis is pretty good. I wouldn't consider this to be an ideal first car for somebody. This was not Sophie's first car when she bought it. She had a little Vauxhall Corsa, which I bought for her shortly after she passed her driving test. And yeah, she pretty much trashed that car. It had a good life, I think. Or a very well used life, that car did. So this was her kind of second official car, really. And at the time when she bought it, I thought, well, it was quite a lot of money for somebody of her age. I think she was about, I think, 24 when she bought this. So I was thinking, oh, it's quite a lot of money. And I think in terms of from a finance standpoint, I think she put a deposit of about £4,500 down and pays about £160–170 a month. So it's not terrible. And then I think if you factor in the living costs with it, the fact that it's pretty low maintenance, and as I just said, with the fuel economy being so low, I mean, what is this getting? I think officially they say it's about 53 mpg. So I would say 50 to 55 mpg that you're going to get out of this. So I think this car, I think on average, is getting that. Let me just quickly check. Yeah, so at the moment I'm looking at, in the short time I've been driving it, 44.5 mpg, and I haven't really been driving it on some, you know, village roads and stuff. I haven't really been driving at the most economical of speeds. I've also been putting my foot down just to see what it feels like, you know. It's not bad. It feels quite sporty. From a sort of handling perspective, it probably doesn't handle quite as well as something like a Mini Cooper or something like that. It feels a little bit more floaty than something like a Mini Cooper. I think a Mini Cooper will be a little bit more sort of slightly firmer suspension, firmer ride and things. I think a lot of the car reviews, they do sort of peg this car up against the Mini Cooper and the offering that they have got. But again, you're not going to buy it. You don't really buy this car for the sort of sports performance. You're not really going to be ragging it around country roads. It's just a very practical, efficient car to drive with the added luxury that you get from Audi cars. Yeah, generally it's a very nice place to be. It's very easy. Everything's very easy to use. I haven't actually got my phone connected up to this, but once the phone is connected, you've got all of the controls on the steering wheel. One thing that does always confuse me is the volume knob. I know it's on the steering wheel. I often forget that the volume knob is on the steering wheel because I drive Lotus cars and none of them have volume knobs on the steering wheel. So I never really think to use the steering wheel to adjust the volume of the music. Not that I should be listening to music anyway in a Lotus. I should be listening to the engine. But the volume knob is kind of down here by the gear stick, and you kind of think, why is it down there? I always, every time I get into this car, if I'm trying to turn the volume up or down, I always end up going or reaching for the climate control knobs here. I think these are actually really nice to have here, to be honest, but I always think that this one is the volume. And I don't know what other people who own this car have done. You probably have got used to it, but because I drive this car on a very semi-regular basis, it always takes a little bit of getting used to. And I think that's always the case with cars like this, especially when there's a little bit of technology involved. There's always a little bit of time to adjust and work out how to use the interface and what everything does on it. And I can imagine Sophie probably doesn't even use half of the features that this car claims to have. Now I've got this on the head-up display. I've got the standard kind of Audi Drive Select view. So she always drives it in efficiency, which is probably the most economical driver mode to use. There is an automatic driver mode. No idea what that does. I suspect that it might adjust depending on the way you're driving. I have no idea. I will probably have to read up on that. But then you've also got the dynamic mode. So the dynamic mode, I imagine, I can't really tell much of a difference in the driving style. Let me just put it into second gear and put my foot on the floor. So that's dynamic mode. Right, and let's put it into efficiency mode again. Do the same thing, do the same test. It's marginal, very marginal. Yeah, not entirely sure what that does. I think if I put it back into dynamic mode, also the steering feeling is slightly different. Let's have a look here. I'm just going to go around this corner in dynamic mode and see how it feels. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe it feels a little bit more floaty in efficiency mode. I mean, again, I don't know why you would have different steering modes for a car like this. I think, again, it's just probably more about software, and they have it built into their sort of high specified cars. So yeah, it's just there. I don't really think it makes an awful lot of difference in a car like this one. What we'll do in a second is I will find a place to stop and get out of the car and show you some of the exterior of it. I think it's a very nice looking car. This particular car is spec'd in turbo blue, which I think is one of the more popular colours for the car. And I think, again, from a resale perspective, this particular colour is quite a desirable one. So I suspect she probably hasn't lost an awful lot of money with this particular car. I will show you now on Auto Trader similar values of this particular car. Now, bearing in mind she paid about 17k for it a couple of years ago. So let's see whether it's lost any value. The other thing I'd like to say about this is there's a bit of a sound to it. Now, I don't know whether it's a genuine sound or whether because there has been speak of noise getting artificially added to cars now, especially with the sort of smaller sized engines. But it has this kind of like weird, like almost like you probably can't hear that because it's so quiet. Oh, auto sensor. That was okay. I came up to a traffic island and it thought I was going to have a crash. Don't worry, Sophie, I was a long way away from having a crash, but yeah, that kind of made me jump. But it does have a bit of a roar to the sound, and I have a feeling it's probably a little bit of an artificial sound, because I'm pretty sure 1 litre engines don't sound like that. But yeah, we'll have a look at the engine as well as we're doing a bit of a walk around of the car. I'll show you everything about it. But yeah, I'd like to know what you guys think in the comments. Would this be a good car for just generally driving around in? I am going to be doing a series on electric cars. Now that's going to be probably a wide range of different electric cars. Given that the cost of fuel is now so high, you've now really got to start thinking about having a car that you can use to get around in that's not going to cost you a lot of money. And I think this is probably a really, really good contender if you want to sort of maintain the element of luxury to an extent. I know that this is probably very similar to Volkswagen Polo as well as the Seat Ibiza, but this is the flagship. This is the car that you would choose if you just had that little bit of extra money to splash out on some of the luxuries that you would get from this. So as promised, here it is. I think the colour's really nice. It really pops, to be honest with you. This is the turbo blue. It's run this particular one. So the S line, I think, comes as standard as a 17-inch alloys. These are quite nice. They do have a black edition, which I think is about 1,500 quid more, and you get 18-inch. I think they're diamond cut alloys, so slightly nicer look. But to be honest with you, again, what I mentioned earlier about the car, is it really worth spending that extra money on something that you just really want for efficiency? I would also say that the ride quality might be a little bit better on slightly higher profile tyres as well. But yeah, generally it is a nice looking car. It's quite sporty looking. Let me take you around and we'll have a look at the back. So as we can see, this is the back of the car. Let's have a look at the boot space. It's probably got all of her rubbish inside, as you can see. But look, actually this is probably quite good in a way to demonstrate how usable the space is. There's a fairly large sized box in the back here. But yeah, it's quite a usable boot space, to be honest. The only thing that I've never really liked with these, you get these kind of nice looking plastic fake grills. There's no exposed exhaust pipe or anything like that, so it is kind of, there's not very much going on back here, to be honest with you. But it is quite nice from that perspective. It does look quite sporty. They've got a bit of a funny rear diffuser down there at the bottom as well, which looks quite nice. And again, this is the type of stuff that you kind of want. And then again, finally, here's the front of the car. You've got a lot of, again, vents that don't really do an awful lot. So this is supposed to look like it's doing something aero, but it's not. It's filled in. You've also got these funny filled in vents here as well. I just find it quite funny that they thought, oh, let's put some plastic looking grills in them, but you might as well hollow them out, to be honest with you. I can't imagine it would do any damage to do so. But yeah, generally quite a nice looking front. Quite liking the privacy glass effect as well. So again, something you don't really see on small cars like this, but great rear tinted windows will definitely help for things like hot days, keeping the car cool and things. But yeah, all in all, it's a nice looking car. Quick look at the controls here that you get on the display. So just using the steering wheel control here should give you the ability to basically look through, give you the time and day. You've got your range up there on the top left. That hasn't actually gone down at all since I started driving, so it really does go to show the efficiency of this car. You can see what drive mode we're in there. It says efficiency. This does have auto stop, so the engine cuts out when you come to a stop normally. I've just turned the engine on, hence why the engine is actually on right now. You've got your lane assist, you've got your speed on the right, so everything's kind of where you expect it to be. Got a nice little fuel consumption chart there, so it gives you, I guess this is kind of, I was saying average, but then I guess this is kind of giving you an idea of your current consumptions, I imagine. There's also a max and then a picture of a battery, which I don't really know why they have a picture of a battery there. Short-term trip, so this would be a short-term trip, I guess. So that's actually reset to when I started driving the car. This is a long-term trip, so it gives you an idea of what it looks like from a much longer-term perspective. So clearly Sophie could probably do with a little bit of better driving. Just got a very funny look from a woman. She's probably thinking, what on earth are you doing in this Audi A1 with all these cameras? It's a nice car, honestly. I have to say, a lot of people, yeah, I don't think pictures and things do these cars justice. They are very, very good, and I'm actually almost sold by such a thing. I mean, to be honest with you, I would love to drive around in something like this and save myself a lot of money and sort of you know, going on daily drives and things like that. So I think that this is definitely a very, very nice contender. Yeah, so this is quite interesting. So this is telling me what is currently being an energy consumer. So how many gallons of petrol am I using per hour? So if I turn off the aircon now, will that go away? No, it won't, but you can see that the green bar did definitely make an adjustment there. So it goes to show how much aircon. I just turned it back on again, as you can see. I'm also giving it some gas, and you can see that the green line is going along. So yeah, it gives you an idea. Something she definitely needs to do: add some washer fluid. It keeps beeping at me because there's no washer fluid in it. So I might go and I'll go and fill that up for her afterwards as a gesture. What else have we got here? Driver assist, so I guess you can sort of turn this on and off. Oh, I don't know if you can actually turn it on and off. So yeah, I'd have to look into that. But yeah, so it gives you an idea of what's going on here. I suppose if I just plug in my phone, and you can see that it says loading, and then on this screen here you get your Apple CarPlay. So you've got your Apple CarPlay displays, and again, that looks very nice. Click back on there to get back to the Audi controls, and then you're back to your normal Audi infotainment system. Down here you got your climate control buttons. These are great. I think they're fantastic. It's nice to have tactile knobs and buttons to press. As I said earlier, I always think that this is the volume control. The volume control is actually down here, which is just a bit of an odd place to have a volume control. But I think this is quite common in all Audis. So if you're used to driving them, then yeah, you probably think I'm just being silly. Yeah, nice manual gearbox, 6 gears, definitely help with efficiency and keeping the fuel costs down, especially when you're on motorways and things like that as well. Down here you've got sort of other buttons here, so you've got your drive select, so you can actually do your drive select directly from here, so you can choose the different driving modes, as mentioned earlier on the driving portion of this video. You can also turn on and off your auto start-stop system, so you can do your start-stops, deactivate it there. And then you've got your traction control, just in case you want to do some drifting in this lovely front-wheel drive 1 litre engine. So yeah, apart from that, very easy. You've got some USB ports down there, USB-C as well, which is quite nice to see. There's a random elephant in there as well. Very cool. But yes, cup holders, very good. Some additional storage space here. There's not an actual bin here, it's just cup holders. You've got a relatively okay sized glove box. But yeah, I quite like this sort of metal dash. It looks really nice. The steering wheel is also quite sporty, it feels good. I think it's a great little car. But also really nice, you get this embossed S-line. I think this is what you get in the S-Line spec car, but I quite like the combination of the leather and the fabric. It looks really nice, and they seem to have fared well as well. Oh, a memory stick. But yeah, they seem to have fared fairly well. You got your pedals down there. Looks really, again, sort of chrome effect on the pedals. It's just nice. I like it. And then we'll have a quick look at the rear seats. But yeah, again, legroom not quite as bad as you should expect in such a small car, and the headroom as well is also really good. So just sitting in here, let me just have a little seat. Always good to test it in. Put a full-sized adult in the back with my current driving position as well all set up, and as you can see, it's actually not too bad. Pretty comfortable, to be honest with you. So yeah, headroom's pretty good in the back. Got some lights up here, reading lights and things like that. But yeah, it generally just feels very good quality. Very good quality car. Good purchase. I approve, Sophie. Very nice. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think in the comments. Give the video a like, and I will see you for the next one. Take care, guys. Cheers. Bye bye.